Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing your images. Over the past couple of months, we've had many people submit images to us to review. Myself, Wayne Capili, and Tony Colangelo on just real estate, architecture, interiors, different type of things that you guys want to get a different opinion on what we think the professionals out there on your photos, right? Like sometimes, you know, when we're in this field, we see things one way, but sometimes it's nice to get that other opinion from somebody else with a new fresh set of eyes to look at our images and give us their take. So hopefully these image reviews kind of give you guys some perspective as to maybe things you guys are doing wrong or a different way of doing something, right? And the reason also on why we're making these suggestions, right? So it's not just, you know, this is a good image or a bad image. It's the why behind why we do things, right? Like we're trying to be professional in all aspects of this craft, and we want to make sure that we're always delivering the best images to our clients. So what better way than hearing perspectives from 3 different photographers out there on images that might be similar to something that you guys are producing and that could potentially help you guys out there for future jobs as you move forward. So this is actually a collection of 3 different image critiques that we've done. I want to put it together for you guys all to get a binge watch session on just pure image review. So you guys are going to get to see a whole bunch of images here. It's great because there's so many nuggets you guys are going to take away with. And also I'd love to hear what are the things that you found in these critiques that maybe, you know, made you say, I didn't think about that, or that's a great thought or topic or whatever it is, right? So definitely leave those comments down below, because it would be really nice to hear your perspective onto the things that really maybe made you think twice on what you're currently doing. And for any of you out there who want to get your own architecture, interior design, or real estate photos critiqued, use the link in the description below to get your photos reviewed in one of our future videos. And by the way, my name is Fraser Almeida. I'm a professional photographer based here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I specialize in luxury real estate, architecture, and interior design. Let's get to it.
Okay, so of the images that were submitted, we all like this one, right? There are a number of things that this photographer has done really well that all 3 of us liked, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think compositionally, it's a strong composition. We have zoomed in to the house that's being sold. We don't see any neighbors. It's just a really strong composition. I love at the top how they've used, I think that's a maple tree or a Japanese maple, whatever it is. They've used those red leaves to frame the house on the top. We have this beautiful curve along the bottom that kind of frames the shot on the bottom, coming off those steps going into the yard. Just a very, very pretty shot compositionally. You know, if I were to nitpick a little bit about this, guys, and please jump in, the lighting, I like the time of day. I think there's a softness to the light that the photographer has captured. But if I were to really nitpick, I'd want to see a little bit more evidence of what appears to be left to right lighting.
Yeah.
So maybe, what do you think, guys? Brightening up that left side a bit, augmenting, maybe, yeah, somewhere around there. Thanks, Fraser. Maybe adding a little bit of saturation to that tree to pull out some of the yellows in the lighter leaves right at the top and the top left side. Something like that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. My thing was, I congratulate a dusk shot that doesn't have end of the world sky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's just nice to see a natural sky, which kind of gives me the time of day, and it amplifies how the light is around the house. One of the things I really like is that I never get in dusk shots is that rolling front yard, and that is so inviting. That it's normally, if this was a regular yard, then and it didn't have those contours, that golf course contour, this would almost be a stalker shot because you're far away in the trees. But the foreground really is inviting me into the house, which is unique.
And, you know, and we have that darker ribbon. It's almost
Hmm.
like a natural vignette
Yep.
that pulls your eye towards the middle. And
Yeah.
you know something, that's a little tip. I can't think of too many images that would not be improved by adding a very slight vignette just along the edges.
And
Especially in dust shots, the
Yeah,
foreground should not be lighter than the
yeah,
house.
exactly.
and one thing I really liked about this was just choosing the right time to shoot this, because as you can see, there's not really that much landscape lighting around this yard. It's pretty much just only the house lights itself. Had
Yeah,
you had shot this later for a little bit more of a true twilight, you would have lost the beautiful color and exposure on those areas. So choosing, when you're doing these type of shoots, be aware of, like, is there landscape lighting? So those are judgment calls you have to make on deciding when to shoot your dusk or twilight shots, because it'll make a big difference at the end result. Because if had he had shot this much later, just the house would be maybe glowing, but everything else would be falling into darkness.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, to my mind, Fraser, this is in fact a twilight shot. This feels like it's shot at sunset or a couple of minutes after sunset, as opposed to dusk, which is about 20-25 minutes later. But
Mhm.
you're right, 100%. If this was a dusk shot, it wouldn't be nearly as impactful because of the lack of landscape lighting. This would just be a black blob.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that we could go in, make a selection of the upstairs windows, and maybe brighten those up a bit,
Yeah.
just to even out the lighting. We have nice light in that room in the middle on the upstairs, but the two on the sides appear a bit dim. If we could brighten those up a bit, it would just make it a little bit more inviting. Same on the first level on the left there, to the left of the entry door. But a very strong photo to start us off with.
Yep.
I have one thing. So with all the comments and all the suggestions, like brightening up the windows and all these other kind of things, the most important thing about this image is it just feels nice. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
regardless of all the things that we could do to it, it just when you look at this picture, it just feels like a good photo. So
yeah,
regardless of all the things that you could do to it, it's a success to me because it just makes me feel like I want to be there.
yeah.
Yep.
It just it's a nice way to start off. It's a good, strong image. So whoever submitted this, well done.
Yep. Let's hop on to the next one.
Let's go to the next one.
So the next one here was submitted. We have actually two images here. We have this one here with these two black chairs, and then we have this one with these three chairs. Now, obviously, when you're in a real estate shoot, you don't really have 90% of the time the ability to pick and choose. But that being said, if I were to choose one, I guess the two black chairs is fine. It gives some breathing room. If you had no choice and you did have to go with, let's say, these three chairs, that's fine. But number one, they're way too close to each other. It's very tight. And what I would do is just, add some separation between the chairs to get
Yeah,
some breathing room. That'll help that out. But besides that, the one thing that I notice here, and I see this with a lot of real estate shooters, is camera height. If you notice, we're on that edge of this island in the front, almost leveled at the same with the back area there. If you see, there's a very slight separation. The second photo here is actually a bit better. We get a lot more separation. I like
yeah,
that a lot more, but be very careful. As far as for this particular composition, going too low, because then you lose that separation. You don't really need to see, the full bottom of this island here. That doesn't need to be done all the time. Like you can cut off even like all this and still make a good looking composition,
yeah.
raising that camera up higher. So
Well,
that was one of the biggest things that caught my eye.
first of all, kudos to the photographer, because even this one, yeah, he or she is right on the edge of it being a little bit too low, because we don't want the island top to sort of bleed into the far countertop. So, particularly given the darkness of the wood, we do see some separation. So, technically, Fraser, I think this would be acceptable.
Hmm.
However, if you flip over to the next photo, much better camera height, because just those few extra inches give us more breathing room. We could see, it's almost as if we can see more flow. We can see a greater capability of walking around this island. It just feels uh, less congested. We can
Yeah.
see the hardware on that drawer in between the fridge and the range. So this is a much better camera height. Going
So
back to the comments you were saying, Fraser, about staging, I agree with you in terms of separation. That if you were going to go with the three chairs, you definitely want to separate them out a little bit. Here's the additional point that I would make. If we were standing in the room with the photographer from this perspective, to our eyes, those three chairs would appear dead centered, right?
Mhm.
However, to the camera, they don't look dead center.
yeah.
They look pushed a little bit to the right, and we can see on the farthest chair to the right how much it's over. Even though it's centered to our eyes, to the camera it looks like it's way pushed off to the right.
Yeah.
So if we, and look, a lot of real estate shooters are just going to say, sorry guys, I don't have time for staging, I shoot it as I see it, and that's fine. But for a hero shot room like a kitchen, which is usually the most important room in the house, if you are going to stage, that would be the room to do it in. If you are going to take the time, understand that what's centered to our eye is almost never centered to the camera, and we've got to shift things over. So really, that chair on the left, Fraser, even though it would be centered if we were standing in the room, right now it appears that there's a big gap between the left edge of the island wood and the left edge of the chair. And I think if we were to move that chair a number, 4, 5, 6 inches to the left, and then accordingly to allow for some space in between the three chairs, I think it would be a much more attractive shot. So that's a little a tidbit that what's centered to our eye is almost never centered to the camera. So if you are going to do some staging in your real estate work, please keep that in mind.
Yep.
So my thing is, as I look at this, the brightest thing in the picture is the centerpiece on top of the counter, and
Yeah.
so what happens is, since that is the brightest thing, the rest of the kitchen behind it seems dark. That the flowers kind of give me a barrier of that. This is where you want my eye to stop. This is the area that you want my attention. So I think we need to lighten up the background a little bit. Fraser,
Well, I tell you what, if I could jump in,
yeah.
if we are going to be talking about staging and the homeowner has spent some money on prettying up the house for the photo shoot, um, you almost never, um, unless it's a designer shoot where the kitchen is huge and you have those big sort of eucalyptus things, off the side of the island, because the scale of the kitchen would allow it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure having a high element dead center of an island. I don't think that ever produces a
No.
good shot for a kitchen like this. Those flowers, I think, are best placed on the right side of the counter, to the right of the faucet, just to eat up that open space. Fraser,
I
if you can put
agree.
a circle there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
So
talking about around here.
in reality, those flowers are going to be in every single room, if on some real estate shoots.
No, I would put it to by the doorway, Fraser, the end of the counter,
Oh,
right
here.
about there. Yeah,
Okay.
because that way, because they're farther from the camera. So by the laws of physics, the farther away they're going to appear smaller. They're not as obtrusive, and they don't, as Wayne was saying, they don't interrupt the sight line going through the kitchen.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Fraser, toggle between the first and second images. So one of the reasons why the second image opens up the room is the lower angle. The ceiling tends to be overhanging us more, kind of giving us more an oppressive room. So as we raise the camera, although we're closer to the ceiling, The line between the planes between the top of the counter and the ceiling have opened up, actually widening or giving us more height and breathing room in the room.
Okay.
All
So
right.
shall
Should
we
we jump
move
on
on
to the
to our
next one?
next one?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's our next one? That one there. Oh,
Okay.
Wayne, yeah, you had a.
I,
Go ahead, Wayne.
yeah, it's like the first thing that obviously as Fraser clipped onto this, the first thing that you see is the dust mop on the bottom right hand corner, and then this frame is framed on the side wall over to the left. So essentially, my eyes immediately don't go to the kitchen; they go off to opposite ends of the frame, and then we kind of have to go through to get to the kitchen. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, Fraser, I've been talking a lot. Why don't you jump in?
Well, I mean, I do like number one, I do like the that this is not like a wide angle shot, that you step back and you punched in, and it, even though this is here on the right, but I do like that this kitchen feels good. It doesn't feel too distorted. Like I can see myself walking in there, and by punching in like that, it creates a better pleasing image of something that you would see to real life rather than it being that distortion. So off the bat, I do like that. Yeah, I do agree. This is a little bit distracting. I think there's no really purpose for it. I see what you're doing, but I think sometimes when you go into that, artsy and try to be a little bit more creative, it actually hurts the image. If you took that out, we could just completely be focused on the kitchen. One other thing that jumps out at me is talking about our eyes are drawn to sometimes the darkest or brightest parts. This right side wall is really hot to me. I don't know if there was a way to tone that down a little bit, but it's really hot. My eyes a little bit going there as well. I'd like to be staying a little bit more within the kitchen rather than going towards that right side. So just a couple of
Well,
things that jumped out at me.
if you took out the feather duster and took out the chair down at the bottom and stepped back, and you could really just frame just to the kitchen, and it'd be a great kitchen shot.
Yeah.
The proportion would be great, and it would really just show all the texture and everything of the kitchen, because this is a really nice kitchen. But
It is. I think the photographer has done a nice job with camera height.
Mhm.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but yeah, that plant. Whenever I see something like that, it's first of all, it feels obtrusive. It feels like we're doing artsy for artsy's sake. It's not really adding a lot of value to a listing shot, because at the end of the day, that's not going to be there. That's not coming with the house.
Yeah.
So why include it? But yeah, I think Fraser, I agree. There's a lot of things done well here, but it's almost as if we are being forced to look at the kitchen because our eyes are being pulled off to that hot spot and to that plant thing in the bottom right corner.
And to be really nitpicky, so we have the top of the chair of the dining room table. That furniture does not match that kitchen.
Yeah. So yeah, so pull it out. If you're gonna pull out that chair, take away that plant in the bottom right. Put the soap dispenser in the sink, so we don't see it. It'll take 3 seconds to do each of those things, but it improves the shot immeasurably. And
Yeah.
again, as I said a little while ago, if we're shooting 3, 4, 5 homes in a day, we don't have the time to stage every room, but we can pick our spots.
Yep.
Strategically, we know that the hero shots in almost every listing revolve around the kitchen. So let's do what we can to improve those shots the most. So yeah, it would take all of 15 seconds to remove the chairs, remove the thing in the bottom right corner, to get the soap dispenser in the sink so we don't see it. And the return on investment for spending those 15, 16 seconds is a far better photo. That's the return.
Yep.
Yeah, and the thing about this picture is, like Fraser pointed out, this photographer was very mindful of camera height, what we're supposed to be looking at, angle and everything. It's just those things that are off to the sides that are that are preventing us to get to the image that he wants us to see.
Yeah, they've selected this is the angle that I would take into this kitchen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
And it was designed for this angle,
Yeah.
given that little angled wall going to the pantry or wherever that goes. Like I said, on the whole, it's a good shot. It's just we are all saying the same thing, so I don't want to repeat it. But the distractions are getting in the way of really enjoying the shot more.
Yeah. And besides the soap dispenser, just to be anal, I would just Photoshop out this can opener right here. Very
Yeah.
simple.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move on. Okay. So one of the things that we have been saying for years, we do it in our coaching, we do it in our workshops all the time, is that whether you're shooting architecture, design, core real estate, regardless, a higher level photograph happens when you tell a story. And part of telling the story and putting together a series of shots that makes the viewer feel like they're there, part of telling the story is answering the question, what do you want me to look at? And my first reaction when I opened up this photo is that I couldn't answer that question. And because of that, because my eye was drawn to multiple things, A, I didn't know what the photographer was intending. And B, quite frankly, it created a little tension in my puny brain about what I was supposed to be looking at. Right? So here we have some very interesting light coming in through those narrow windows on the right. Do you want me to look there? Do you want, there's this big obtrusive column on the right there. And I see what the photographer's trying to do here. That column is on the right vertical third if they're using rule of thirds. So I appreciate that. But the bottom line is, what do you want me to look at? It looks like that. Is that a wine room? What is that in there? Is that a reflection?
Yeah, it's a wine room.
So if you're going to shoot a wine room, that this is part of living here. We have a wine room that's convenient and adjacent to the dining room table. Then stand off to the right and do an angled shot into the dining room and maybe open the door to that to the wine room. And I think that's the story. A dining room. Let's have some dinner. We have some friends. Let's go next door and get another bottle of wine. We're enjoying dinner. It becomes more of a story as opposed to this one where there are at least 3 or 4 different elements that I'm supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
So my thing is like the wall on the left. So if we're gonna, key in on the eating area, what it looks like to me is that off to the left there's a beautiful dining room table, but it's up against the wall.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, because it's compressed. As I'm looking at the spaces and what each space does, I do kind of agree with Tony that one of the stories is the table and its proximity to that fabulous wine room. Yeah. So that could be like just a tight little vignette, and then try to working on what's off to the right over there, because that looks interesting to me. But again, there's a column there that literally is blocking any kind of interest that's part of that room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
go ahead, Tony.
Fraser. No, you go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna play as if your client asked for this shot. That being said, let's say worst case scenario, you didn't have a flash to use to help with certain things. So let's problem solve and see what can we do to help create a better image here. Now, obviously, we don't have anything to flag these windows. Okay, but I can tell what you're trying to go for is to highlight this wine room. The problem is the reflection that's happening here. 2 things. Number one, You have the light from the kitchen reflecting onto this glass, which is making it hard. And because of the light that's in this scene, it's throwing light onto the glass as well, making it hard to see past that. If you notice very carefully, there is a drape here for the window. What I would have done is close that drape, block the light on the left side, which would have gave you a lot more detail in here. You would have been able to see a lot more of that wine room, kill the lights in the kitchen so that we don't have any of the glare coming on here. So that also helps to give us some more illumination in that wine room. And also by killing the light in the kitchen, because there's plenty of light, it darkens the foreground. So we're actually going to be able to draw our eye closer towards this main area here rather than having it so bright. So just a couple things that we can troubleshoot in situations like this. Use what's there to help us to fix some of these problems so we can deliver a better looking image. Because right now with everything all on, it's so much glare that you can't, all you see is maybe these bottles, but you don't really even notice that there's a whole wide room to the left side of this door. So, just a couple things that, when you guys are out there or anybody's out there shooting, use what's around you to see if you can use it to your advantage to help your compositions.
Why not pop a flash in the wine room?
Right. I mean, I'm playing worst case scenario that they don't have a flash. They're just doing this all ambient. Obviously, if you had a flash, yeah, that would have been easy. Go in there, pop a light inside there, and that would have solved the problem.
Or open up that door and you get rid of 2/3 of the reflection.
Yep, exactly. Open up the door. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
All right. So this is something that not all clients, but I have a few clients that they've told me this, and I think it makes a lot of sense. With with the money shots in the house, like living room, master bedroom, master bath, kitchen, especially kitchen. My clients, when they put up a kitchen shot on their marketing on their MLS or whatnot, when they say kitchen, they want to just focus on just the kitchen. That being said, if you notice here, the composition is kind of wide, and that wide is showing you like the staircase going up. You have these windows here to the left. It's kind of taking away from the kitchen itself. If I was here, I would try my best to get tighter in so that my composition is kind of cutting this stuff off. So I'm only keeping within the kitchen itself. So all my focus is here. I'm not going to the left or up those stairs. I'm staying within the kitchen. Number two, the other thing that I see here that I do this 100% on every single shoot, whether it's architecture, design, or real estate, especially in the kitchens. I make sure, and this is something that we talk a lot about in our workshop, is something as simple as this faucet handle here. Do you notice that you don't even appreciate that curve of that faucet? Take the time to go in there and turn that head. Turning that head allows you to see the nice bend of that faucet, to appreciate it. And number two, check this out. You don't even realize that there's even a faucet here. Look at this here. Because of this same thing that's happening here, you don't realize that there's a faucet here. If you just turn that head a little bit more, you can get a little bit of a bend, and you can see that there's a faucet there. So depending on your composition, whether it's a 1 point or a 2 point, go in and make sure you try to get that angled correctly, so that way we can actually appreciate those features of the kitchen.
So Fraser, actually, if you could zoom back out to show the full photo,
Mm-hmm.
can you draw a straight line in red down the left side where you had it, like right over the light switch on the stairs? Draw a straight line. Yeah, and I'll draw it all the way to the top, so that's the left edge of the frame. Right.
Oh, you want a little
bit to the right. Yeah, right there. Okay.
Okay.
Now your horizontal line cuts off right underneath the base plate of the far light fixture.
Base plate of the far light here, this one?
Yeah, put that horizontal right underneath that. No, underneath it. Underneath it. Okay.
Even
There's
lower,
your
maybe.
there's your composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you are, you know, just building on your point, Fraser, that if your agents are saying, you know, I've got this, you know, $250,000 kitchen renovation, I just want to show the listing, the kitchen, then there's your composition right there. We
Yeah.
see there's a teaser on the left in terms of what's in behind there. Why do we have a couple of pots in behind that marble section where the range hood is? Well, guess what? And we can show that in the next photo. That's all the whole thing about telling a story is that we don't have to show every square foot in every photo. We can show the kitchen in this photo. We can show a one point in the next one, maybe show corner to corner from the wine fridge. And actually, the reason we don't need to show those sliding glass doors on the left in this photo is because this is a hero shot. We're going to have multiple kitchen shots in this space. If we stand doing a corner to corner way off to the right, we're going to have a far better view out those windows, and we're going to show connection between indoor outdoor, presumably, right?
Hmm.
Whereas showing it in this photo, all we're seeing is black steel of the door frame.
Yeah.
So my thing is I like Tony's crop, and it's very important that you watch Tony's crop because up until he cropped it, all the leading lines were out to the hallway. So essentially I'm staring at the hallway and I have to turn my head to look at the kitchen with
Yeah.
Tony's crop. We essentially are saying, I want you to look at the kitchen, that hallway is not even important. And also about windows, if we look at the windows, again, it's implied that there are big windows here because we can see on the sides of the counters that there are lights there. So we assume that there are windows there. We don't have to necessarily show the windows because
Yeah.
light sources make themselves available in a shot. Bright areas and shadows like really let us know that there are windows off to the side, so we don't have to show them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the whole, photographer was on the right track, but sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
And
let's move on.
And just last point, just to be nitpicky, if I do this, I see this all the time. These chairs, you can see like this left one here is not leveled or not leveled, but or is angled here a little bit. Just take
Yeah.
it takes a second. Just go in there, move those backs, and you can get that nice and straight without having this little bit of inconsistency.
Yeah.
All right.
I really, really, really wanted to like this shot, and lighting wise and just feel wise, it's almost there. But there's this weirdness that you've actually taken pictures of a wall, and the way this looks, it looks like you're on a walking path across the street from this house, and you were walking past the house, and you looked and went, "Oh, that would make a nice picture," and it's like that. There is so much. It's like there's not a lot of intent in this picture. It's kind of like, oh, I want to take this picture, as opposed to setting up and actually showing the house. Again, it's framed nicely, but there's a gradient that goes on the trees that goes from black to the direction, the way the tree looks on the bottom,
Yeah.
which makes it look kind of eerie.
It does. Yeah, it looks yeah. So look, there's yeah, Wayne, in large measure, I agree with you. This is a house that I think architecturally, style wise, it's interesting. I'm not sure I like it personally, but
Mhm.
bare minimum, it's interesting in terms of the materials used
Yeah.
and the colors and what have you. Um, and right off the top, guys, I mean, verticals have to be vertical. End of story.
Hmm.
You're not doing your best work if you're not correcting your verticals
Yeah.
and
If we put
horizontals when necessary.
if you just look at this post right here, you
Well,
can
even the
see
left
that.
edge of the garage, Fraser.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's way off there.
Yep.
So anyway, be that as it may. So Wayne, in terms of, so I'm playing devil's advocate, okay, and I'm
Hmm.
saying, okay, well, you've got apparently a 4 to 5 foot wall blocking this interesting house. You've
Hmm.
got a massive, beautiful tree
Hmm.
blocking other parts. What the hell do you do to avoid that? So what? I'll ask the question. What
Screw
do
the
you do?
tree. I don't care about the tree. I care about the house. You know,
Okay, so what would you do?
I would put my camera right next to the tree, and with an ultra wide angle lens, I would shoot the entry. Because remember, you know, with that wall there, we're losing a lot of the house anyways, and I would try to get as much. I would try to get as much of the front of the house as possible because the lighting on this house is great. I mean, there's all this really nice stuff that he's trying to get into the one picture. But if we
Yeah.
can just get as much as we possibly can of just the good stuff, like straight on, we'd get the stairs, we'd get the entrance, we'd get, you know, the whatever, the dining room area off to the left. We would have a lot of stuff, and the height of the building. So
Yeah,
getting
and
that close, we'd actually see much more volume.
in all fairness to the photographer, like I said, I understand the intent. Creatively using the tree to frame the house, I get it. Um, but the idea of getting this shot, and maybe you throw in this shot as one of the shots that you include in your deliverables, 30, 40, 50 shots, whatever your local MLS requires.
Mhm.
However, I don't think it's the hero shot. There's a lot of obstructions here. And
Mhm.
for those of our viewers, Wayne and Fraser, who wonder, you know, do I need a tilt shift lens for real estate? Well, yeah, it's a very expensive piece, and quite often you can get away with fake tilt shift techniques, blah blah
Yep.
blah. But let me tell you, if there's ever a
Never a
reason to
time.
have a 17 or 20, I think in this one a 17 millimeter tilt shift would be great. I was
Mhm.
going to say if there's ever a reason to own a tilt shift for real estate, this
Yep.
is it.
This is it. And again, here we joke about stalker vision and things like that. Well, seriously, you're showing me a tree that literally goes across your house that somebody could climb up and look in your windows. I mean, you know, how about
Well,
that for
okay,
marketability?
Wayne, you're pushing it on that one.
I mean, of course, okay. The good thing is you can watch your kids play in the yard and as they climb the tree. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this going, yeah, you could look in.
Okay. Fraser, I think we have one more.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple things here. I'm sure we all have something to say, but I mean, the biggest thing here is number one. I know, you know, for real estate, we're used to the offshore editors going out there and doing these crazy window pulls. You know, blue saturated skies, green grass. Um, let's just say that's what you had to do for your client, and that's what you wanted. Okay. But the thing that I can't get past is you have this dark window view here, but the glare on this island is blown out like crazy. Like, if you're gonna do that much of a pull, then at least like try to make it somewhat balanced. Where, well, let's get some more information in this glare, whether it's with the flash. Even without a flash, you can do a luminosity blend and bring back some of the darkness of that view from one of your brackets
Well,
into that island.
yeah, yeah, theoretically you could, but if you're sending your work overseas, they're not doing luminosity blends at
Right.
30 cents a photo.
Right.
But your point is absolutely bang on, Fraser. I mean, at the end of the day, um, window pulls have to be realistic. Uh,
Mhm.
look, in terms of getting that much detail with that level of saturation, that level of clarity, vibrancy, whatever you want to call it, if I'm not looking at the Golden Gate Bridge or the Statue of Liberty or some beautiful mountain range or what have you, um, there's nothing in this window pull that looks attractive to me.
Mhm.
In
And
terms of
also,
the composition, we were talking a few minutes ago about less is more. Well, this is a perfect example of how less is more. By shooting this wide to get all of the cabinetry and all of the fridge, we are bringing a boatload of wide angle distortion into play. And it raises the question, I mean, do we really need to see the entire two doors of the fridge to know that it's a two-door fridge? No. So we can crop through that water dispenser. We don't need to see all of the window on the right. So Fraser, draw a vertical line right through about 2/3 over, left to right, of that water dispenser. Okay. Now, right through, do you see the base of the light bulbs in that first light fixture? The one closest to that one there. At that height, put your vertical through that.
At the height of which one?
Just above the base of the light bulbs, the gold.
So like right here?
No, above the gold things, a little bit high, right there.
Okay.
Put a line right there. Okay, now put a vertical line and just show a sliver of the window on the left side. No, right about there. Yeah. There's your composition. And, given the size and the beautiful materials in this kitchen, we're going to take multiple shots. We don't have to, in terms of telling the story, we don't have to show the entire kitchen in one photo. We're going to stand on the far side of the kitchen. So in this photo, on the right edge, we're going to put our tripod there and shoot back across. So we're going to see the entire fridge from that angle. However, from that angle, that fridge is so far away that its width will look more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it looks like a monstrosity, right? It's all I opened it up. That's the first thing I saw, other than that that overly intense window pull.
Also, one of the things about post-processing, that is actually a white ceiling, and with the way the light is, when all the layers are compressed, it tends to have what's called smoke damage on the ceiling. There's really no whites in there, and it's really kind of mid-tone grays to lighter grays. So it kind of has that kind of fuzziness in the whites that this is a white kitchen that should be a lot brighter. Fraser, Can you put the lines up again?
Put the lines up?
That 20 put? So this is what I tell the people that I coach. So wide angle is, although wide angle is wide angle, if you look at the crop and if you look to the stuff off to the sides of where he's cropped, that's actually the wide angle distortion. So when you use a wide angle lens, the entire image is not distorted, just the stuff on the ends.
Yeah.
So this particular crop eliminates the wide angle distortion. So if you crop to this, there would be no wide angle distortion, because the images that are the part of the image that causes what we visually think of as distortion is cropped out.
Yeah.
Or you're getting not all of it, but you're getting a good chunk of it to at least make it look more attractive.
All right, that's our first set of images that were submitted to us. Now let's go ahead and jump on to the next set.
One of the things, if we are going to be talking about from a real estate photography context, one of the trends that I'm really glad is happening these days is that we're seeing more and more agents being more and more open to vertical shots. So these sorts of 2x3s rather than everything being 3x2. So we wanted to start our review by doing this type of photo, just a vertical 2x3. And so guys, what do you think of this one?
I like that it shows the entire room, but the bottom part of the image makes it feel like this couch is huge.
Yeah, well, the couch from this perspective is in fact huge. And obviously, if there were room to stand back and zoom in, that would eat up some of that couch. But let's say that, Fraser, let's say that this individual is standing as far back as they could. What would you suggest?
Just because of that relationship of the camera to your composition, I think if you had no choice and this is what you had to do, what I would deliver is a cropped image so that you don't get that so much distortion on the bottom of the frame. You know, we can cut out some of that couch. We don't need to see that full entire couch. It'll just help with that distortion that's happening here, being so close to that couch with your camera.
Right. Okay.
And also, it's also because of the foreground. And if you can't get that back any further, one of the things that makes it look bigger is that small little tables. You know, take those kind of elements away from there, so our eye doesn't go directly to the foreground of the picture.
Yeah. And so in other photos that we'll be reviewing today, we're going to be bringing up that point. Just the notion that obviously elements in the foreground are going to be, they're going to look disproportionately larger than elements in the background. So if you take a look at this photo, the square footage occupied by that little end table or whatever you call it, I mean, that beige or tan piece of wood is almost as big as that armchair.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, if you can take that out of the way. The first thing that I noticed about this photo when I opened it up is there was a little bit of tension for me because the fireplace was really pushed into the left side of the frame. It felt a little constricted. If we take a look at the right side of the photo, just that strip of wall there, what would you call that? 1/2 inch, 2/3 of an inch, whatever that is. We have that amount on the right side of the frame. And then the white wall on the left edge of the frame is what? 1/8 of an inch?
Yeah.
And it just, I think, you know, one of the things that we talk about at our workshop when we're discussing composition is one of the things that gives a photo a sense of balance is to have equidistant spacing on either side. So if we were to take just a little bit of that white wall on the right edge and then maybe do a little bit of a pan, we would get less wall on the right edge and more of the white wall on the left edge, and it would be equal on both sides. And I think that would address some of that congestion that I'm talking about on the left edge of the frame. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could even try, just to experiment with the new technology, try generative fill and use that to open up this crop. And that might give you the space that you need. I mean, if we even just give that a quick try. I was just going to say,
Fraser, yeah, let's do that. Let's make it equidistant a little bit more. Yeah. Maybe so let's just leave it there.
Okay, let's give that a try. And then we'll go generate. Let's just see what it does.
Well, as we're waiting for the generative fill, I mean, even there we can see from the gray and white squares that there's more breathing room there.
Okay, generative fill didn't do that great on that vase, but you get the idea.
It doesn't matter. Look at how much more breathing room. The photo just feels better. Right. It feels more balanced, having that equidistant spacing on either side. So Fraser, just out of curiosity, even if we did a little bit of a crop and we cropped off maybe a couple of inches at the bottom, let's see what would happen.
How much are you thinking?
Yeah, well, right about there. Let's try that. If that table wasn't there, yeah, I mean, that's already looking better to me. That looks almost like a 3x4 or a 4x5.
Yeah, you get rid of that distortion. It makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. So
wait, let me suggest to do a square crop because a lot of websites and a lot of people that are putting their stuff online on Facebook and Instagram will be using a square crop. So try a square crop and just kind of move it around up a little bit, go down, get rid of the brown thing.
Oh,
Push,
so you're saying go up like that?
yeah, just like that. And
I'm not sure about that.
well, with text and everything around it, because essentially they would actually put the address and their information on it. This is one of the templates that they use for their social media.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So let's go back to the previous crop, Fraser, and let's just fill the screen. Yeah. So what are some of the things that the photographer did well here?
Camera placement, camera height.
Camera placement. That's it. See, camera height. I thought the camera height was a little high. It would have. Yeah, I thought if we had lowered the camera just a little bit, it would have been a better shot. For me, I love that window pull. I think that window pull is spot on.
Yeah.
But if the camera was lower, the distortion would be more down on the bottom, and we'd have to crop more.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but okay, let's in the interest of time, let's go with that.
Okay.
I think the window pull is absolutely spot on. Did a really nice job with that. It looks realistic. What else? Fraser, what do you like about this?
The light itself feels good. Like between the inside and outside, it feels good. Like we've seen images before where the window pull is so hard that it's a big contrast of the inside and outside. This feels nicely balanced, and I like that. Only one thing that kind of throwing me off is these throws. I would have either picked one or the other. I don't know. To my eyes, it's bugging me having both of them there. It's just, like that. But yeah, one or the other, I think I would have kept it. Just having them two there, it's a little bit too much for me.
Yeah. Okay.
But otherwise, I think this is a usable shot, a nice little crop, and it's definitely usable in my eyes.
Yeah, no, I think the photographer did a very nice job. On the whole, a lot of things to like about this photo. Okay, so let's move on to the next one.
One thing is flash placement. He really used the second floor really, really well. There's not any light coming from the back of the camera, and because he used the second floor and bounced from above, we have that natural light coming on the top of the cushions, so it looks like that the window light as opposed to flash.
Yeah, I think if you take a look at that armchair in the corner, it has some great shadowing on it. The front parts of the chair, the front part of the ottoman, the back cushioning of the chair is naturally darker. So we are getting the sense of that the light is, that so much of the light that's coming from the outside is coming towards the camera because we see some natural shadowing in that chair. So yeah, on the whole, I think the photographer has done a nice job here. So well done on this one. Let's go to the second one.
Well, before we move on, I want to get you guys' take. What's your guys' opinion on putting images on the TV screens?
I don't.
I think it causes more trouble, and you're increasing the risk of distraction. And I have rarely seen an inputted TV fill that has actually helped the shot. I would just rather see a black screen or a gradient on there or natural reflections. One of the things that I try to do on TVs is that if there's a reflection on it, I make a selection of the TV screen, paint it black, and then lower the opacity somewhere between 80 and 90 because I want to bring back some of the reflection. I think reflection adds depth and dimensionality to a photo. But generally speaking, TV fills or inserting photos, I've never liked them. Sometimes clients want them, but I'm not sure it adds a whole bunch of value.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, this one was, boy, a tough shot. So let's talk about first impressions when we open up this shot. Wayne, what was the first thing that entered your head, the first millisecond when you open up this photo?
That I couldn't get past the chair and the very front of the counter.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I saw as well. Fraser, what about you?
Yeah, no, that is just stopping me. Like it's a visual stop. I can't get past it. Like, just take that. If you just take that chair out, you solve so many problems. I mean, that's just one thing.
It becomes a different. Very little good. It's been my experience that very little good comes out of showing the back of a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
The first thing that, and I got to hand it to the photographer here. This is, it's one of the challenges, and I think one of the reasons why we picked this photo is highlighting the challenge when the room is set up in such a way that the things in the room, I mean, we're doing what appears to be a centered one point, centered on the island and the pendant lights, but the rest of the room doesn't kind of feel balanced and centered and symmetrical. So the photographer here has centered it on the island, but we're seeing that the range hood, that whole the brick portion of the range and the range hood appears to be off center. It's almost as if the room was designed to be off centered. It's just very odd.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think it is? As I'm looking at it, that island is there because the left cabinets are so big.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So one of the reasons we picked this photo was to talk about what do we as photographers do if we are going to do a one point. And I would have loved to seen if this photographer did a 2-point perspective from either side, what those photos would have looked like. But if we're going to do a 1 point, and it's going to be a centered 1 point, what do we center on? This is a challenge in an off-center room. What do we use to center? So here the photographer has selected the pendants in the middle of the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boy, it would have been so interesting to see if he or she would have centered on the range hood. I think that would have been a really funky shot. I'm not suggesting that it would have worked. I would have loved to have seen a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, but that left cabinet would have been overwhelming.
Yeah, it would have been monstrous. That's what I'm saying. A 2-point, one from the bottom right going to the top left, and then vice versa from the left side looking out that window. I think would have been more productive shots. This one's a little bit of a challenge. Lighting. What do you think about lighting here?
Well, for me, my biggest thing is just the light coming from behind the camera. And there may have been windows there. Maybe it's a combination of windows and a little bit of flash or whatnot. But I would have tried, if possible, somehow to have the backs of these a little bit darker. So we have the light coming from, in this scene here, my key light is going to be this window here to the right. So if that's my key light, I want my light direction and shadows to be coming from that direction. Having the light coming from behind, there's this conflict and it's just creating this flat scene. So personally, if I could, I would try to introduce maybe supplemental lighting to help enhance that shadow direction, or if possible to block light by maybe closing blinds or windows or whatnot, if that's even possible. But yeah, just the light coming from behind the camera for me is just creating a flat image here.
Yeah, I mean the brightest thing in the shot is those front legs of the island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the sky and the window on the right, the brightest thing in the shot are those. So my eye goes there right away.
And for a more advanced shot, I would have probably put a strobe out on the outside of the window over the sink to get more defined shadows from there.
Yeah. Nitpicking here, but if let's just say this was a dead on perfectly with the hood, the window, the beams, and everything centered at one point, I would have taken a little bit of time to maybe balance these rugs also, so that way it's also symmetrical with everything, and as well as these chairs. If you look at the two chairs here versus the two chairs to the left, I would have taken the extra time to just really get that dialed in, so it's all balanced symmetrically.
I mean, even for real estate, I'm of the mind that unless if we're going to go to those nitpicks, Fraser, I would have been inclined just to take those rugs out.
Yeah, show the wood.
Just show the wood. I mean, the wood is
probably has those rubber runners underneath.
What was that?
Yeah. That has those rubber runners underneath that you start pulling it going, oh yeah, I can't pull it up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
All righty.
This one here. This is one of those shots. Generally speaking, I think when we're talking from a real estate context, we always get into this tussle between real estate and architectural photography, where the real estate is always wanting us to shoot really, really wide, and to show as much as possible. Here, it's very interesting. In this particular shot, I think the goals of the architect and the goals of the real estate agent are, in fact, one. They are the same goal, and that's to show this house, this structure, this part of the house anyway, in the context in which it's sitting. And I mean, I look at this photo and we have, gorgeous mountain views. We have clearly a pond there of some sort. And it becomes, to my eye, it becomes a shot about a really, it's an unstaged outdoor dining room set. And I would have loved to have the photographer kind of zoom out and say, yeah, we've got this really funky deck, this, semicircular deck. Let's see what I'm looking out to, because that's going to be the selling feature of the deck, right?
Yeah. And actually, really, like you said, to zoom out and recrop it so we have more on the right side, so I can see more of the lake. Because as it is now, I'm looking at it's a nice mountain view. It's a nice range, but just that little hint of water on the side, I want to see more water.
Yeah. So the reason I was bringing up, the architect's perspective, or the architect's needs, and the real estate photographer's needs, the real estate agent's needs are the same here. And that is, for the prospective buyer, if we are talking about a real estate context, what am I getting? I'm seeing this zoomed in version of that hill and the mountain in the background and just a hint of water. I would love to see more.
Yeah.
And
even
I think,
if go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, even just height, like if you notice here on the right, the edge of where the water meets the land it's about right here. If you could just even raise it up, if this was the composition for whatever reason, if you could just raise it up, you would get a lot more water around this curve, just to see more of it too. But I do like what Wayne was saying, was just angling it. Another thing would be interesting too is to playing with the reflections. Like if you look at the glass here, maybe another idea could have been even looking towards the house itself and getting some of that reflection with the water in there and being higher elevated. I don't know. I'll be playing with different compositions here because there's potential here, but I don't think this is the one that's the one that's gonna really represent this well. Another thing that bugs me here is this vase. Like I would have just picked it up and moved it. Like it's just
that planter. You mean?
What's that?
The planter. It's not a vase, really.
Oh, I mean, sorry, the planter, right?
Yeah.
This planter, I would just move it out of the way And then another one more thing, depending on, like I said, I don't know if this is a real estate or design or whatnot. This back of this chair, or the seating area, I would have maybe try to flip it, put this on the back and these two chairs in the front, so you don't get this hard stop here visually. Maybe that could have helped just like pull your eye in and not be stopped right here at the back of this. But yeah, there's a couple of things that I noticed.
Yeah, so the whole idea of we're always talking about zooming in more, zooming in more. This is one of those situations where zooming out probably would have gotten us a better photo here.
So while we're being nitpicky and doing all these changes, while I'm here and I'm looking at where the sun is, this would have made a great dusk shot with widening it, making it wider, and seeing more water. This would have been a great dusk shot.
Oh yeah, without question. Yeah, there's a lot of potential here that I think we're missing from such a zoomed in shot. Okay, so we've talked about this one. Let's go to our last one. Okay. Nice place.
I like it.
Off the bat, this feels good. It feels right. Like nothing is conflicting. Like the window, the interior, the balance feels really good so far.
Except for the big arm of the chair in the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, so right off the top, my first reaction seeing this, obviously you're impressed by this house and just, the design choice to literally have floor to ceiling glass overlooking a forest. I think the designer, I think the architect, that was a great decision. My first reaction here is that we're showing way too much of the couch. I would have loved, at the end of the day, if this is a real estate image, and even if it's an architectural image, I'm presuming that the architect didn't design that couch, but boy, was that a good architectural decision for floor to ceiling glass to show that forest and showing where this house is situated. I would have done a big pan to, not a big pan, but certainly I would have panned to the left. I think that that armchair on the left, Fraser, that the edge of that armchair is just a little bit too close to the edge of the frame. It's feeling a little bit, right there. It's feeling a little bit congested. So I think a pan to the left. So even if we were to do a crop, Fraser, just add some canvas.
All right.
And just click and drag it. So it's almost to mimic. Yeah, right about there. And we don't even need generative fill. It'll be interesting to see if you did do generative fill, but just visualizing that, that feels a lot better to me right off the top. That we have some breathing room on the left side, and we're seeing more. Just out of curiosity, Fraser, let's do generative fill now. Can we do that?
Sure. So let's go ahead and move this
right there. There.
Okay.
Let's see what let's see what the software does, and hopefully it'll continue that strong line on the ceiling, on the glass ceiling joint. Yeah.
Not bad.
That just feels a lot more balanced to me. Maybe not that much. Maybe you can crop just a sliver on the left, but that's okay. Don't worry about it, Fraser. Just leave it be. But the whole idea about showing more of the view, because if it's whether it's architectural or a real estate photography context, that view is the selling point of this room. All that furniture, as lovely as it is ain't coming with the house. What we're trying to sell from a real estate perspective is that view.
Yeah.
And also with this crop and eliminating the couch on the right, we literally are just walking into the room to the left. We're getting past the furniture immediately when we look at the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the photographer did a nice job. They were definitely on the right track. So whether it be design or real estate, they were definitely on the right track.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I would do is maybe an inch or two. If you just move the camera position a little bit to the left, you could have got a little bit more separation of this, what's happening here, this little intersecting point.
I think if you had the right camera position, which I think this is, all you need to do is move that table a little bit.
Oh yeah, or move the table. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not moving those tables. those look like solid wood.
Well, so you just wedge it over a little bit. The other thing that I really, really like here, and it makes me kind of think it's more of a design shot, is camera height. And the whole idea about keeping in mind how high your camera should be depending on the room you're in. So here, I mean, if we were sitting on that couch, our eye level would be pretty much to where the camera is here. Given that the primary purpose of this room is to sit down and enjoy the view or talk to friends sitting with us in the room, I think the camera height is spot on here. I think that one of the things that the photographer has done really, really well is lower the camera height for the use of the space.
Yeah, because you really feel it. You really feel like you can sit in this scene here, you know?
Yeah.
Being up too high, having the camera at your chest or whatever, it would completely not give you the same feel as what's happening here.
Yeah, because you'd be looking down on it. It's almost as if we'd be taking the camera position as if we were standing in the room rather than sitting in the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hope you guys so far have found some nuggets here that you can apply to your own photography out there. Now, finally, let's go to our last set of images that were submitted to us.
Okay, so here we have this zoomed in shot of this tub, what appears to be a lovely primary ensuite. Guys, what do you think?
It's overlit. You know, I think you walk in and the light should be coming from the huge windows that are surrounding the tub, which means that the foreground of the tub should be really much darker. And unless there's a light or a big window behind me, it kind of flattens the tub, and it really kind of screws with how warm and great this room should look.
Yeah, that was my first reaction as well. It does look a little overlit, and just as a reference point, Fraser, we were talking about this. The whole idea of those shadows coming off the left edge of the tub and the right edge of the counter space, those hard shadows would indicate flash being popped somewhere. I'm not sure how they did it, but those shadows, I'm not sure. I mean, if there was a skylight in here, based on the shadows on the trees outside, even if there was a skylight in this room, I don't think those shadows would have taken those angles. Regardless, for a scene with so much natural light coming in, it looks very, very flat. Wayne, I agree with you. The tub ought to be a little bit. The front of the tub ought to be much darker. And the brightest thing in the scene, I think, is that rock wall on the right edge.
Yeah.
So it just seems overly flashed, and I'm not quite sure there was a need for it here.
Yeah. So again, the key light is the light source that makes the shadows in the space, and your fill light should not interfere with how the key light is. So once your fill light or flash is equal or more than the key light, the windows, that becomes the key light. So
it becomes the key light. Yeah. So it's almost as if we're losing that beautiful warmth and glow coming in. We have we have two floor to ceiling windows and the big window at the vanity, and it still feels flashy.
Yeah.
Compositionally, what do you think of the composition?
There's really nothing that you can do. I mean, it could be a little tighter, a little lower, so it doesn't look like I'm looking into the tub. But I like it.
Well, yeah, I think actually for my purposes, I think the camera height, I think the photographer had to balance, because if you go any lower, then we don't see the top edge of the vanity, and I think it's kind of important to show that from a depth perspective.
Mhm.
So in order to, so Fraser, if you can with a paintbrush, I mean, if you can, the top edge of the vanity, yeah, I think showing that gives the shot a little bit more depth. But yeah, so I think there's a nice balance on the camera height here. I don't think we're looking into the tub per se. So I think on the whole, compositionally, we're really getting a sense of this corner of the space. And I think it makes a nice, if this is a real estate context, I think it makes for a very nice addition to the listing photos, having it this zoomed in. So on the whole, I like where the photographer was going with this. It's just a little bit, well, it's more than a little flat. It's quite flat, and I think it's overly flashed, right?
And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but just like in the kitchen shots, I always talk about this curve and the faucet. If you just turn that to the left a little bit, you can appreciate that more. It doesn't look like just a straight line there. So just something to think about.
Those faucets are in a bathtub, Fraser. Those are set. They're not turning.
I've been in some situations where those do turn. So if it's possible, I would try and see. If not, then it is what it is, and that's all you can do.
Okay. So I think we've covered off this one pretty well. Let's move on to the next one, Fraser.
All right.
Yeah, well, these houses, for our friends and colleagues who tend to, who are in the Midwest and shooting an awful lot, or wherever they're shooting these log cabin type homes, man, these are really, really hard to shoot. Don't have an awful lot of spots to, we're not using the ceilings to bounce, that's for sure.
No.
So any general impressions here?
This is, I'll be probably, this looks like it was sent off to Vietnam, which isn't bad. The only thing about it is that the window pull and the colors in the window pull make it too hyper. It makes it kind of finishes the room off as cartoonish. So I would maybe desaturate it a little bit and get a more natural window pull from the window that we can actually see.
Yeah, you definitely want to desaturate like the top of that that vaulted window there. That blue is awfully intense.
Now, Fraser, there's a lot of windows and everything. There's a lot of windows and a lot of natural light. Would you use flash in this?
If I was going to use flash, then I would be using it from the direction of those windows, not with what's happening here. As you can see, it's lit just like in the previous shot from towards the scene from behind the camera, and it's creating this flatness. So if you're going to add light, I would light it towards the camera to add some better directionality rather than this flatness of what's happening here. You can see like and just by looking at the antlers, here you can look at the shadow that's coming from behind. Even this wood here, you can see the shadow there. That's all from behind the camera. If I was to be in this position, I would light from the main big light source. That would be my key light, and let the light fall off shadows coming from there towards the camera. Yeah. That would help alleviate the whole flatness of this scene.
So, as far
as bouncing goes, obviously we can't bounce light. So in a situation like here, this is where I like to use my beauty dish on my flash, which I directly handhold and add that directionality since I can't bounce off of anything. Or you could do, we were talking about this before, Tony mentioned doing umbrellas. That could be another option too, to add some light into here.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we did an umbrella, if we were standing with an umbrella pointing, in the left corner, the camera left corner, where the print of the horse is, we could sort of angle it to the right and just angle our umbrellas, one from that corner to the bottom right, and then from the TV to the bottom left. And that way we can meld the two and brush ourselves out of the photo. That would be one way to do it. But yeah, not being able to bounce, and that's why I respect so much people who have to shoot these types of houses every day. It's a bear shooting these log cabin homes with the wood ceilings. It's just a really, really tough environment to work in. But yeah, the whole idea of directionality of light is key. I mean, if you take a look at that end table on the back of the couch, Fraser, if we take a look at the shadows coming off of the decorative bottles there, those blue bottles on the left, the shadows are to the right, and then that green bottle on the right, the shadows are going left. So I wonder if there's multiple flashes going on there.
I think that there's another window the same size behind it. I mean, I think it's flat because there literally is two large windows lighting the space, making it flat.
But why would the shadows be of different hardness levels? And if there was a window there could be a window in behind, but the darkness and the hardness of the shadows on the left coming off of those blue bottles, whatever you call them, are so much harder and darker.
Oh, that's the truck on the outside of the window. That's a truck on the outside of the window. That's reflecting off the window of the truck.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So anyway, the bottom line here is be mindful of the intensity of the window pull. Be mindful of directionality of light. Now, Wayne, is this a setup where, for those photographers who do have a tilt shift lens, how would you leverage it in this room, Wayne?
I would raise it up. I would raise it up a little bit so we can get over the couch, and I would shift it up a little bit more to get more of the ceiling.
Yeah, that certainly. I'm not altogether sure we need to see the full back of the couch.
No, but just get past the little tchotchkes on the chair on the table. But we do want to show more breadth and height of the room, because that is
just
really
a little bit more volume, eh?
Yeah, just a little bit more volume.
Yeah,
and this is probably shot with a 16 millimeter lens. So if you zoomed out like to a 14 or 13, you could still crop out, to get more height. But we just want to see a little more height.
Yeah. Okay. Fraser, let's go to the next one.
Alrighty.
Okay, so here we have, a completely different type of house. So it's a very interesting home. So compositionally, what do you guys think?
I don't see the need for, going off to the right. Yeah, I don't think that's important. I would want to see more of the left. I want to see more of the house more than what's outside that window, because there's really nothing interesting outside the window.
Yeah, like, I mean, how much of that sliding glass door area do we need to see for the viewer to know that it's a sliding glass door area?
Yeah.
So Fraser, let's fiddle around with this in real time. Let's have some fun with this. Let's go to our crop tool, and I don't know if you've got generative fill on here, but let's have some fun. If we were to actually click and drag to the right to get rid of some of that, maybe not so much. Right about, maybe a little, right about thereabouts. Let's see what generative fill does. So it's navigate. Yeah, let's do the theme from Jeopardy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, right. Just that extra breathing room. Let's do it. Let's go with that one. That extra breathing room, that just feels so much better. That sofa, And I'll use the word specifically. That sofa now that we have that bend going across the bottom left hand, we can see more of the back of the sofa. That sofa feels more resolved in my mind, and that it just feels better to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not seeing as much door. Just out of curiosity, Fraser, can we split the difference between that blue planter box and the right edge of the frame? In other words, can we crop a little bit on the right? Just on the right. Not so much. Right outside the box. A little bit more, a little bit more. Right. Yeah, let's go there. Yeah, I mean, that's just feeling much better.
It does.
So I mean, from a lighting perspective, I think the photographer here has done a nice job in just leaving Mother Nature alone.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet the mortgage that there's no flash happening here. So I like the natural shadowing happening in the shot. I love that squarish shadow going up the handrail going up. We can see that it's going upstairs and behind the fireplace. So I think from a lighting perspective, I like that the photographer has respected the natural lighting.
What about color?
Go ahead, Fraser.
What about color? What are your thoughts on color?
Well, I was just going to ask you that.
Well, to me, I definitely see like if we just go ahead and take our saturation here, let's just try something, and we're just gonna bump it up 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of blues, cyans here in this this photo. I think we can desaturate some of that. So if we just go to our blues, we just dial that back a little bit.
Well, here, even while you're in the blue channel, just in the blues alone, and I think this is one way that we can train our eyes to spot even the most subtle color casts. Why don't you take that slider and go all the way to the right? So that's where, as you can see, there's a significant portion of the shot that's being affected just by blue, as particularly the rug. And look at the concrete flooring. Personally, that's the first thing I noticed when I opened up this shot was the intense blue color cast. So if we move slowly, Fraser, go back to 100.
Okay.
And if we move slowly back to 0, and that starts fading away, and then we get to 0. Now with that equal speed, keep going now. We can start seeing the impact. Yeah, right about there. We start seeing the impact. So now if we can just wriggle back and forth from that spot, Fraser, to bring back some of the blue, if we go back and forth, maybe like a couple of millimeters. No, right on the spot you landed. Yeah, just go back and forth. We could make an informed decision about how much blue we allow into the scene. I think if we go all the way to -100, it just makes the shot look sterile, right?
Right.
But if we go to like a -60, -70, somewhere in that range, and then make a conscious decision about where we bring the blue back. So here, Fraser, I'd want to bring back some of the blue in the chairs and in the pillows.
So we'll just add that back in.
Yeah, just add a little bit of pop. Maybe the pillows on the sofa, and the book on the end table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now if you toggle that layer on and off, we see the impact just of the blue and how it negatively affects the way that we perceive this composition. So I think that's a much cleaner shot now. So on the whole, I think kudos to the photographer here. I think they were on the right track in their composition. Just a little bit of refinement on the left and right edges, and we have a much better shot. So I think that's right there, I think is a really good shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our fourth one, Bud. Ah, okay. So let's talk about this, because I had a very strong reaction when I opened up this one. So I was just yapping a lot on the last one, so I'm going to ask you guys to take the lead on this one.
Go ahead, Wayne.
So a lot of times,
Thanks, Fraser.
so a lot of times when we do real estate photography, it is our instinct to shoot as wide as possible. And then, because of the style of real estate photography, a lot of people want detail shots. And what happens is people believe their detail shots, all you need to do to get a detail shot is to just use a longer focal length. But
And zoom in. Yeah.
And zoom in. And that's really not the case. You have to have a little more cause of what you're taking pictures of. You have to tell the story. You're not just zooming in. I need to see and feel what you want me to see as a detail.
Yeah. So when I opened up this photo, I immediately, like from the first millisecond, I immediately felt tension, because my first reaction was, where does this photographer want me to look?
Yeah, this is a
And
zoom.
my eye kept going to the wall joint, like dead smack middle. And we have this killer view on the left, and we have that little hutch and the couch on the right. And I couldn't help but my eye landing on that wall, dead center in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this actually is a wide angle composition, just zoomed in.
Yeah, so that's what it feels like. And I'm sure it was a lovely wide angle shot, because we would have been able to see more of that view, right? Mm-hmm. But as a detail shot, so what are some of the so let's talk about what encompasses a good detail shot. So for me, one of the things that I'm looking for is, what does the detail shot do in terms of telling a story of the space? And the other question that I'm asking is, who's the client?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if it's going to be a detail shot from a real estate, if this is for the real estate agent and I'm going to do a detail shot, I'm not even sure I would stay on this angle. I might go to the far right and I would shoot down the lane in between the coffee, or maybe shoot right over the coffee table, because I want to get a detail shot of just the right side of this family room, living room, and I want to see more of that scene. So I would do a 1 point shooting, down the coffee table, out the window, just to show the viewer a detail shot of what it would be like to sit in this corner of the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because remember that as a real estate shot, this furniture isn't going to be there. So,
correct. So the selling feature is that view. Now, let's flip it over. Let's say that our client, let's say this is a design shoot, and our client is the interior designer who has custom designed with the mill worker that little hutch. Right? So let's pretend that's the shot. That's who our client is. So Fraser, how would you zoom in, or how would you crop this shot to satisfy that client?
Yeah, if that was my client, then there's no need to focus on anything else but those elements. So maybe instead of having this type of a composition, I mean, even if we just crop and go to something like maybe here and create a little bit of a vertical vignette, maybe something like that.
Yeah. And maybe, and actually maybe, I'm not sure the mill worker will be interested in that photo and that little hanging art piece to the right of the photo. So let's crop a little on the top.
You tell me. What do you think?
Keep going. Right about there.
Okay.
Right. So, and actually, let's crop a little bit of the pillows on the right, because if the mill worker and let's say the interior designer custom designed, keep going. Keep right about there. Maybe to the right a little bit, Fraser. Right there. So let's pretend that the interior designer designed that and worked with the mill worker to actually specify. That's a very, very interesting design shot at this point. If the client is in fact the interior designer and or the mill worker, I think that would make, so once again, what do you want me to look at? If your client is the mill worker and they want to show off that custom piece, then that's what you're zooming in on. The mill worker couldn't care less about that mountain view, right? Any additional thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, when it's cropped like this, the foreground with the books, then the middle is the couch. It actually gives context to where this piece of furniture goes, which makes it, again, if it's what you want, if it's for the designer, this is why it's a designer shot, because this is it, the cabinet is featured and it's in, and we know where it's placed in a room.
Yeah. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, let's move on to our last shot of the day, Fraser.
All right.
Okay. So I tell you what, we've been talking about real estate, the context mostly of real estate so far. Let's make this a design setting, or an architectural setting. Let's say we're shooting this for an architect or an interior designer. First of all, kudos to the photographer. I think this is a lovely image. Love the light coming in. Typically, ideally, whether it be for real estate or architecture and design, we want the light coming towards the camera and or like we have here, coming towards the camera and coming across the scene. So I think I really like the lighting here. It's very soft, very natural.
I love the window pull. It doesn't look overly done like in real estate. It's believable. Like that, the balance of that window pull and the light in the interior feels all related.
Yeah, I mean the shadowing I think is spot on. Really, really good for this time of day. And the other thing, Fraser, if you want to zoom in on the window pull, something really smart that the photographer has done. If we take a look at the top edge of the railing, we can see that the horizon, the water level, where the water meets the mountain or the cloud layer, there's a space there. Yeah. So in other words, what I tend to see an awful lot of is we see tangents that happen with the actual horizon. So what I mean by a tangent, so the top edge of one element, in this case, the balcony railing, if that were to overlap the horizon, that would be a tangent because that would be creating visual ambiguity. We would know where the horizon is. We would presume that it's almost as if the top edge of the balcony railing would be the horizon, right? It would lead to confusion because we actually couldn't see the horizon. The shot would feel unresolved somehow. But here the photographer chose a camera height where we could see the horizon. We don't see a tangent between the railing and the horizon. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So let's zoom back out.
The window pull is perfect.
Yeah, I love that window pull. We don't have the intense blues and cyans. It just feels very, very natural. Okay. And again, we don't have a picture on the TV screen. So I like that.
Well, one of the things about the TV screen, where we can actually see it as a black TV screen, subconsciously we know that that's a TV, not a painting or whatever kind of thing that's there.
Yeah.
We immediately know that that's a TV.
Yeah, exactly. Shadowing is lovely. Okay, so we've commended the photographer for a number of things. Are there tweaks that you would make here, guys, to improve this photo? I have one right off the top, but I'll let you guys jump in.
My only thing is the size of the cushion in the bottom left, and that's just being nitpicky.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think, you know, if we were standing in this room, do you see the space in between those two ottomans? I would
Mhm.
bet anything that if we were to draw a line through that space, we would hit the middle of the coffee table. Yes?
Yeah.
But from this perspective, it doesn't look like those ottomans are centered on the table. So I would, in terms of addressing the absolute size of those things, I would move them out of the scene more. I would pull them back and to the right, so to speak, because in effect, what that does, Fraser, do you see the where the far ottoman overlaps the bottom of the couch?
Yeah.
If we draw a line there, that kind of breaks up the flow in the space. We could almost, you know, take a walk through the scene because we have open areas in between the, you know, the love seat and the coffee table, in between the coffee table and the dining room table. We can walk around the scene, but once our eye hits that ottoman, it's kind of blocked because it overlaps the bottom of the sofa. So I would move those ottomans closer to the camera, and I would move them almost downward, so we're only seeing a smaller portion of them. Does that make sense?
Completely. And this comes to, we talk about this a lot, about slowing down, because when you slow down and you know you take a shot, you're looking at it on your preview laptop, iPad, whatever. These are the things that you can address on site and take the time to make those adjustments so you have a more visually flowing image rather than like these tangents that are happening throughout.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't necessarily a tangent between the ottoman and the sofa in the distance. I'm just saying from a flow perspective,
Mhm.
I think it would be better for the photo if we had more like an unobstructed lane for our eye to wander through the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Um,
And that would have taken care of the size issue because it would cut it off, and the top ottoman would be would have a little bit better proportion to the room.
yeah, exactly. The one that's you mean the one that's closest to the camera now?
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you pull that, that means that would be, that would eliminate the foreground, and moving the top
That's
one,
right.
you'd have that space, and it gives a little bit better um,
Scale.
size. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What about from an editing perspective? On the assumption that we're editing for architecture and design work here, what kind of changes would you make?
I would start taking things out from the ceiling.
So yeah, so Fraser, that square right above the TV, and yeah, and then that square top middle. Let's just get that right out of the way. Yeah, right.
Now,
So all of a sudden, the scene looks much, much clearer. And if anything, by removing that distraction, now all of the sudden, the shot feels a little bit top heavy, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
what if
because
we were to crop a little bit, Fraser? Maybe half an inch, three quarters of an inch, removing that ceiling. Right, no, not that much, not that much. Right about, keep going, right about there. Yeah. So if we fill the screen now, we now the room in and of itself feels bigger, and it occupies more of our attention rather than showing so much ceiling. What do you think?
yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. You know, I'd also would have fiddled around some of those chairs on the dining room table, but now we're into nitpick mode. And I don't want to take away from the very nice job that this photographer has done.
yeah.
Yeah, no. In all, it's a good shot. Great.
Yeah.
Well executed. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys found that really informative. I'm sure there's a lot that we went over here, but you know, like I said, this is good stuff, good information that we can apply to our own work. It's nice to get another perspective from a professional out there on what they see on images that we produce. And for any of you out there who want to get your video submitted and reviewed on one of these type of videos, use the link below in the description. You can upload your images there with your details and whatnot, and we'll be more than happy to review them in the future for more review videos that we do. And put it in the comments, what did you guys find helpful that you guys can apply to your own photography? I know there's a lot of stuff we covered, but I'm sure there's at least one thing out there that you watch and listen to that was actually a nice nugget for you to apply to your own work out there. So anyway, guys, thank you all for joining me on this video, and remember, keep on shooting. I'll see you next time.